Hey Dreamers, this is Jade. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am continuing my journey through the One Piece anime and documenting it. And for this week, these are the materials that I'm using. So let's get started. We are back with the Davy Back Fight. Foxy, this is the second round of the fight. Foxy has claimed both Robin and Chopper, and there's only one round left, so there's no way that they can get both of them back. So Luffy makes a deal with Foxy that if he wins this last round, he gets his pick of whoever he wants, and so does Foxy. And so that's how they intend to get their missing crew members back. And so the last round is a actual fight between Foxy and Luffy individually on Foxy's boat, and then there's like parameters or borders that you can't go out of, etc., etc. And then Luffy and Usopp are getting ready for the fight, and they decide that Luffy's going to don himself in this afro, and it gives him afro powers or whatever. And so this fight is kind of intense because of course Foxy is a cheater, and so he uses all the tricks and all the shenanigans trying to get Luffy defeated or whatever. And so they're going all throughout this boat. He has all of these like little gadgets and stuff to try to get Luffy. Of course he's using his slow beam, which is very not helpful, because he's like slowing down cannonballs, and then they speed back up and it's like blowing up in Luffy's face, and it's a mess. And so but Luffy will not be defeated. Okay, Luffy is like, nah, I'm getting my crew back, and through the powers of the afro, Luffy does exactly that, and he ends up defeating Foxy and chucking him out of bounds. So he ends up getting to pick, of course, his crew members back, and then he has to pick like 300 or something. It's like a ridiculous amount of people from the from Foxy's crew, and so he picks out, but of course he's the captain, so he gets to decide what's happened. And he's like, I don't want these people on my boat. And he's like, they can't fit on the Mary anyway. And so he picks all of these people, and he's like, from here to here, okay, I'm disbanding y'all. Y'all, or you can go your own way. You can go back to Foxy. You can do whatever you want, but not having it. Anyway, he picks Robin and Chopper back, and they are just elated to be back with the Straw Hats. And so, yeah, So after the Davy Back fight, the Straw Hats have docked, and they have waken up, and the entire crew are missing their memories besides Robin, because she had stayed up reading a book that night. And so she's the only one that can kind of bring some order to what's happening. Everybody is freaking out because they're like, who are these people? How did I get here? And all that kind of stuff. The last thing they remember is going to sleep where they came from. So like Nami from the Konomi Islands, or Sanji from his restaurant in the East Blue, and God, can I talk, etc., etc. And so eventually they're not going for it, and Zoro, of course, is no nonsense. He's like, what is going on? I don't believe these people, etc., etc. And so he and Nami break out. They leave or whatever. And so the other crew, they end up staying behind or whatever, and they stay for another night, and they hear that noise that they heard that the night before, and they wake up and they find this kid with this little, it's a seahorse thing, and he's blowing this horn, and that's what's taking their memories. And Luffy is not having it, and so he attacks the little boy, but he actually hits the seahorse thing anyway. He ends up getting his memories back, so he knows what everything is and what's going on here. And he's like, it's showing everybody, oh yes, we're together, we're a crew, da da da. Everybody is skeptical except of course Robin, because she knows what's going on. And so they decide that they are going to get their memories back, and so they go in search of this little boy because they think that he is the one that is taking the memories or whatever. However, it is not the boy that is taking the memories. It is the little seahorse thing, and the seahorse thing has basically manipulated the little boy to do his bidding, and has taken his memories, and all the people's in the town that they're docked near has taken their memories as well. And so they go in search of Nami and Zoro, and it's like, okay, we're not leaving here without our friends or whatever. Anyway, they take on, first of all, Sanji is fed up, and so he ends up kicking the little seahorse shemangi and getting everybody's memories back. And then somehow the memories get gone again, and then Luffy has to step in and basically beat this thing again and get everybody's memories back. So it was a time. Okay, these are just basically, I'm assuming these are filler episodes because we haven't gotten to another arc yet. I personally enjoy the filler episodes, so yeah, that was a nice little fun adventure. And before getting into the next arc, we have my bad, the name is Aokiji, Aokiji, my bad. Anyway, and he knows Robin from the past or whatever. And Robin is kind of a fairly new member of the Straw Hats, and so he's really talking down bad about her. Luffy is not trying to hear it or whatever. And then basically they all get into this fight. Now Aokiji has, I'm not exactly sure of the name of his fruit, the ice fruit maybe, because he can basically freeze anything, the seed, whatever. He can freeze it, and he can freeze people. And so he freezes Robin because she is actually on the wanted list. She has been since she was like 8 or 9 years old. And so Luffy decides to take on the fight, and he ends up getting frozen too. Thankfully, the Straw Hats are able to thaw both of them out and continue on their journey. But he is a threat, and he's somebody to keep in mind for the future. So, General, Vice Captain, something Aokiji. He's with the Marines, and he's high up. That's all I know. Anyway, so the Straw Hats are finally off to Water 7, and they are having a grand old time. Luffy, Nami, and Usopp are in charge of taking the gold and turning it into money so they can go and get the money that they need to repair the Mary. And so they do that. However, they have a lot of people out for their money, and it gets stolen under Usopp's watch, and he is devastated. So he goes, it's the Franky family that stole his money, and they took it and ended up spending it elsewhere. And he has tied his worth to the Mary, so they can't get the repairs that they need. And the shipwrights that they employed to fix the Mary have actually informed Nami and Luffy that the Mary can no longer be fixed. The hull is broken, and it basically cannot operate anymore. Even if they had the money to get it fixed, they wouldn't be able to fix it. They need a brand new ship. And after being beat up, well, first of all, they find Usopp beat up by the Franky family. And so Zoro, Chopper, Sanji, and Luffy is not having it. They go to the Franky family, and they basically whoop their asses. That's basically what's happening there. They tore their asses up, okay? And they brought Usopp back to the Mary, even though, it needs to be scrapped. And Luffy has decided that they have to move on, and they have to get a new ship. Usopp does not take this news well. And so he and Luffy get into this big blowout fight. And at the same time, Robin has gone missing. Her and Chopper had gone to town to get some books or whatever, and she just goes missing. This guy passes her, and then she's gone. And Chopper has been looking all over for her and everything like that. So it's a whole lot of crises going on right now. We have a missing crewmate, and then we have Usopp and Luffy fighting over the boat, the Mary. And Usopp basically has tied his worth to the Mary. He's not confident. He doesn't have like powers, and he's not super strong like the rest of the crew. So he thinks he's worthless, and he's like, you guys have carried me this far, and I can't go any farther. And he thinks that them discarding the Mary or having to move on from the Mary means that they need to move on from him. So he's basically tied his worth to this boat, and it's just not the case. So he ends up challenging Luffy for the boat, for the Mary, and Luffy ends up, of course, winning the battle because it just was really no match. Although Usopp was holding his own, okay? He was holding his own against Luffy. So shout out to Usopp. But it was devastating because you don't want to lose a crew member, especially like that. And so yeah, hard times, man. It was getting me all in my feels and whatnot. I mean, looking back, going through this again, I can understand how Usopp came to the conclusion that he came to and whatnot. So yeah. Anyway, he and Luffy fight. He loses, but Luffy's like, we're moving on. You can have the Mary for yourself. And Usopp ends up leaving the crew here. And so that's basically the beginning of Water 7. It's a lot going on, and it's going to get even crazier in the rest of Water 7, and then leading up into the next arc, which is Enies Lobby. And here we are continuing Water 7 God, can I talk? We are continuing Water 7, and this will take us into Enies Lobby, or right to the beginning of Enies Lobby. And so here we are continuing on. The mayor of this town, who is very beloved, his name is Iceberg. Although Luffy has deigned to call him Ice Pops, has been shot, and he claims that Robin did it, and they are basically what do you call it, framing the Straw Hats for this or whatever. So Luffy is insistent on getting to Iceberg, or Ice Pops as he calls him, to figure out the truth, because he's like, there's no way that Robin did this or whatever. And so he does get to Iceberg, and Iceberg reveals what happened, and that Robin did actually shoot him, or shoot at him. And so yeah, they go on from there. So it's a lot of shenanigans going on. We don't know what is happening, because Luffy can't believe that Robin would do something like this. So what we don't know is that in the background there is a government organization called CP9, and this is who has Robin. And they are basically threatening and blackmailing her. And so Robin decides to just go with them, to just acquiesce and do what they say, because she wants to basically protect the Straw Hats and doesn't want them caught up in her mess from the past or whatever, because her past is catching up to her. As I said, she has been wanted since she was like 8 or 9 years old, and so she has decided to just do what they want because she wants to protect her friends. And she has made a deal with them that she'll do whatever they need, and as long as they let, the Straw Hats, leave Water 7 safely. And so they all converge. Luffy's not having it. They all converge on Iceberg's house, or where he's staying. So Luffy, Nami, and Chopper. They all meet in Iceberg's room. Like, so it's Luffy, Nami, Chopper, and then you got CP9, the whole organization there, and then you have Robin, and you see that CP9 has actually been working against Ice Pops for this whole time. They had been undercover for like 5 years as shipwrights. So these were the people they went to get their boat fixed, and they actually happen to be an organization that was on this mission. They are trying to find these blueprints that have been passed down from shipwright to shipwright. So Iceberg's basically his mentor. His name was Tom. He's a fish man. Him and Franky is Franky of the Franky family, the one that basically beat up Usopp or whatever. It's a whole thing. It's a whole lot going on here. And he and Iceberg used to work together. They were like, let's just say, found family together. And they were apprenticed under Tom as shipwrights. Franky used to make these battleships all the time, and they were used against him to basically hinder Tom, get Tom, and they ended up taking him away to Enies Lobby. And Tom was handing down these blueprints. This is what they were after, these blueprints that would like create this weapon, this ancient weapon or whatever. And they also needed Robin, because Robin was an archaeologist and she knows how to read these poneglyphs. And so they need both the blueprints and Robin to make this weapon, so they could have in their control to do whatever, God knows, whatever they're going to do in this world. And so this is why CP9 has taken Robin, and why they are trying to get to Iceberg, because they need the blueprints or whatever. And so meanwhile, everybody is preparing for Aqua Laguna, which is this crazy storm that happens every year in Water 7, and it basically floods the entire town. So you have to go to higher ground or find somewhere safe to be. And so Usopp has found out errantly about this storm, and so he ends up with Franky, the guy that beat him. Basically, his family beat him up down in the thing, and him and the Mary are with Franky. And Franky is also a shipwright, even though he hasn't built a ship in years because of what happened with Tom. He's like, listen, this boat's not gonna make it. And then Usopp basically shares his story about the Mary, and Franky is very, very sentimental, and so he starts crying. He pulls out the guitar. He's lamenting with Usopp, but he's like, still, this boat's not gonna make it or whatever. So he and Usopp go back and forth about this boat for a while, and he ends up tearing it up, and Usopp is just like trying to fix it at the same time or whatever. And so And so we get flashbacks of Franky and Iceberg and how they used to be when they were kids and being an apprentice to Tom. And Tom was actually, he actually got in trouble with the government because he worked on Gold Rogers, which is the first Pirate King's boat. And he was proud of that. Tom is like, if you're a shipwright, whatever it is, you be proud of your work. And Franky used to make these battle Frankies, these battle boats, and he's like, you got to be whatever happens. That's how they end up using Franky's battle boats to get against him, and that's how they end up arresting Tom or whatever, because Tom had had some leeway because he ended up making this sea train called the Puffing Tom to take people from one place to the other and increase trade and all that kind of stuff to the town of Water 7. And so he was fine for a while, and then this guy Spindam was trying to get the blueprints, and of course he did all this stuff and ended up framing Tom for it, and so he ended up getting arrested, and Franky ended up trying to stop the Puffin Tom, and it kind of ruined him. He had to remake himself, and so he's basically a cyborg now. And so now we flashing back to the events of going on today, and of course there was a whole thing with CP9 and whatnot, and so they are continuing on. My bad, I got interrupted. Anyway, like I said, they are trying to frame the Straw Hat. So there, like I said, there was this whole thing in that room with Ice Pops, and then Luffy and Zoro kind of got blown out of there. Nami and Chopper is where Chopper ends up saving Iceberg and Polly, who is one of the other shipwrights, who is not with CP9, and he feels betrayed and fooled by these people, and he is not here for it, and so he's ready to take his revenge on everything that's going on. But of course now they have Aqua Laguna to contend with and trying to avoid Aqua Laguna, and they can't find Luffy or Zoro, so they're going out looking for Luffy and Zoro. And as you can see Chopper there, they're all yelling for Luffy and Zoro, and Chopper's like, and Usopp too, which is so cute because he's like very compassionate and very empathetic, and he's like, Usopp is part of the crew and he doesn't care what happened, he wants Usopp back. And so yeah, so they're going looking around for him. They finally Chopper finds Zoro stuck in a chimney. Hilarious. And he won't let him live it down. He keeps teasing him about it. And Luffy is stuck between these buildings, and so Nami finds him stuck between these buildings, and having learned the real reason why Robin is doing what she's doing, and that she needs to be rescued and she doesn't really want to do what she's doing, she shares that with Luffy, and Luffy busts out of the building. And so now they just have to kind of get away from Aqua Laguna because it's coming in fast. It's coming in fast. And so they are running. They finally make it to this ledge, but then it looks like they make it to the ledge thinking they're going to be okay, but then the ledge breaks off, and they are thankfully saved by Polly, which is he has a devil fruit as well, and I don't know what he made, but like I don't know what he ate, but it basically lets him use ropes, like ropes come from his body and help people. So he ended up saving them by using the ropes or whatever. And so Luffy is gang-ho. He's gung-ho. He's ready to go after Robin, since he knows. Now, as I tell you, Sanji is clutch. Now listen, I was trying to make a quote here, and I kept writing the thing but cutting it the wrong way. So finally I had to like draw it the way that I wanted it, just to be able to cut it the right way, because I kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. Anyway, Luffy is raring to go after Robin because they have arrested her, of course, and they are departing with her. CP9 is taking Robin, departing with her to Ennis Lobby on the Puffing Tom, and that is the only sea train available. Or so they thought. There was a prototype of the Puffin Tom before the Puffin Tom actually became the Bee, and it was a train called the Rocket Man. The only thing with Rocket Man is you get it going, and that bad boy ain't got no brakes. Okay, it ain't stopping for nothing. So it is dangerous or whatever, but they do not care. They're like, okay, we're going after our friend. During this whole time, Sanji is off looking for Robin, and he sees her with these people, and he's like, okay, I don't know what's going on here or whatever, but I'm going after my crewmate. And so Sanji, thankfully, even though Robin is on the Puffing Tom and there's supposedly no other train that can go or way that they can get after her until Monster Granny reveals the Rocket Man and Iceberg helps So Sanji follows Robin, and he gets on the train. He gets on the train with Robin, and he's basically going from car to car looking for her, and he's kicking everybody's ass. Okay, so he is just looking for everybody. He's looking for Robin. He ends up finding Usopp and Franky because CP9 had broken in on Franky and taken. He had taken. They had. God, can I talk? They had taken Franky and Usopp. So he ends up running into Usopp and Franky, and he wants to help, but he's so embarrassed with what he did that he can't do it as himself, and so he creates this persona called the Sniper King, and the Sniper King is everything, okay? And so he decides he's going to help, and so he and Sanji and Franky are basically the ones on this train trying to take out everybody to get to Robin, and as they are doing that, Luffy, Nami, the rest of the crew, the Franky family, Polly, it's a whole bunch of people. They have created an alliance, and they are also coming after the Puffing Tom and the rest of the people. Sanji has managed to get in touch with Luffy and let him know what's going on or whatever, and Luffy's like, okay, I got you, we're on the way, give him hell. And Zoro's like, he doesn't need to be fighting by himself or whatever. And Luffy was like, knowing what you know, if you were on that train, would you wait for us? And Zoro really couldn't say anything to that. So yeah, so Sanji's doing his thing on the Puffin Tom while they are coming in hot. They are coming in hot behind them or whatever. And so they had to get on the tracks. But Aqua Laguna is Aqua Laguna, okay? And so there was a point where they didn't think they would get through, and Luffy and Zoro gear up. They get on the front of the train, and they basically slash through and fight through Aqua Laguna to make a tunnel for them to go through to continue after the Puffing Tom and after Robin. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the events of this week going on here. Whew, I be stumbling after my words and stuff, trying to find out everything. Trying to express everything. It's like so much content to try to get and explain to you all, that to make it kind of make sense. Like basically, I just suggest you watching it by yourself or with whoever, because it is such a good show and it's so good, and I just cannot get enough. And I love that people say that they are not going to watch the show because it's too long and blah 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 blah, but once they start watching it, they find out that it's actually too short. They need more episodes. That is me, because when I started to watch it and it was like 1,000+ episodes, I was like, God, that's a long time. But now I can't get enough. I cannot get enough, and I'm like, give me more. I need more episodes. I need more episodes now. I have basically left off in the middle of Egghead Island because that's when the dub stopped for me. And I do believe it's finally finished right now. But I am just going to continue watching from where I'm at instead of going back to Egghead Island and finishing it. So I'll just see what happens once I finally get to it. It's going to be a while since I'm only watching average a night, like 3 episodes. However, I'm fine with that. As I said, I can't get enough, and I'm trying to stall it as much as possible because I don't want to get into the crowd where I'm all caught up and I'm having to wait once a week just to see an episode. I want to be able to watch several at a time. And so yeah, with that said, I also too need to start catching up more on the manga. I put it down for a couple of months, so it's time for me to get back in that. So once I finish the book that I'm reading now, I'm going to continue in, I think this is volume 5 of the omnibus that I have. But yeah, anyway, that pretty much wraps this up. I have to continue on. I do have more footage already filmed. If you have any comments or questions about anything, please leave those below. I trust that you all have been safe and well, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.